Welcome to Ramses' Journey from Persecution to Freedom, a citizen assembly meeting produced by Ramses and Staci Gustafson of the Universal Community Project, a 360-degree platform for holistic community problem solving. Discover the appalling details of what the West doesn't know about the persecution and terror Ramses and LGBT people face in third world countries. Join Ramses and sometimes special guests as they take us with them on their journey to freedom. Ramses is a 28-year-old computer engineer from Egypt. She moved to Canada in 2017 and currently lives in Montreal, Quebec. Hello, Ramses.
Hello, Staci. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to see you guys here. My name is Ramses, as Staci mentioned, and I'm joining you from Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
While we are sharing our stories, feel free to share your comments and questions in the chat. Then the floor will be opened for Q&A for the final 15 minutes of our show. So Ramses, let's start our premiere by getting to know you. What would you like us to know about you? Like, where were you born? What is your family background? That sort of thing.
Sure. I was born in Alexandria, Egypt. I am 28 years old. My family, they are Muslim, but they are not conservative. Like, they are normal people, just like us, you know. My father was a teacher. My mother works in a hospital. My mother works every day, like goes to work every day. And this actually inspires me, you know, to love my job and to work hard. And my sister is an engineer as well. My brother has his family.
So Ramses, forgive me for my ignorance. I know you come from Egypt, and Egypt is in Africa. And you're white, and I really don't know what the demographic is of the people in Egypt. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, there is a cream that you can apply anywhere in your body, and it turns you, you know, any color you want. So I thought this works with my hair color, right? But anyways, Egypt has, like, North African people are usually more Caucasian. Okay, so as you know, Alexandria in general is a Hellenistic city anyways. So we have traces from Greece, Italy, and this kind of stuff. And when you go more to the south, you get darker skin. Okay, so yeah, like in Luxor, many people are dark skinned. But there's kind of hybrid, like people immigrate and people, you know, move between cities. But originally that was the case. And my father is from the south. My father is a little bit dark skinned.
So how many generations does your family history is just from Egypt all the way back?
All the way back, yes. Like I know the names of my grandfathers and grandfathers.
That's really inspiring. So many of us here from the United States don't have that family history going way, way back in the same land. All right, go ahead, continue.
I had a very normal life in Alexandria. I used to love, like, my favorite place is the library. And I guess everybody knows the Library of Alexandria. She's a biblioteca. I was raised there, had a lot of activities, and I was interested in computers. So my family got me a computer when I was young, so that I can, yeah, sure.
So what is your family, wealthy, middle class?
I think nobody is wealthy in Egypt except the government, but yeah, but my family is middle class.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. And when they knew that I'm interested in computers, and they felt like, and they knew that I am interested in mathematics, but they never forced me, you know, into studying. Like they knew that I already love, you know, to study by myself, so they never stressed out on this. I was excellent at school, like I was always ranking, you know, this kind of stuff. But I knew that I was gay, and it was a problem. That was a dark secret.
When was the absolute first memory that you had? Maybe you didn't know at the time, but you could trace it back now when you realized this was something where you felt the first time you remember feeling that.
It was at the age of 7. I was attracted to the bus driver that takes us to school.
And I assume that was a man.
I think so. Like that's what I have seen. Yeah, that was my perception.
So I do think that we should tell our viewers that you are transgender. Is that correct?
Yeah, I self-identify as homosexual, gay, and as transgender.
And you were born a boy.
Exactly, male. Yes.
Okay. All right, continue.
Sure. I knew, but of course, I was confused. I thought that this is something that I shouldn't talk about. It's illegal or something that is prohibited.
How did you know that at the age of 7 that you shouldn't talk about that?
Well, it's sexual. Okay, so my attractions were sexual. Like I was attracted to other people. Like I remember when I was young, when I was in grade 2, I remember that I had a colleague that I was attracted to, and so on. But I knew that it was sexual. Like for example, I got erections. Okay, so of course it's something that I know that it is kind of shameful, or I shouldn't talk about. Like I will go to, should I go to my mother and tell her, hey, I feel horny, I love my driver?
So you had some feeling, do you think it's like a cultural thing, or like we learn very, very young, like they say, don't touch yourself there, and nobody talks about sex and nobody discusses those feelings? Is that the kind of thing, or was there actual discussion that you remember where it's like, sex is bad and we don't talk about that?
No, my family never ever did that. My family never taught me that I shouldn't think about men, for example. They never talked about sex with me at all. And I was kind of like, they respected my privacy as well, you know. However, I knew that it is prohibited, but I didn't know that it is a crime, you know, or that it is prohibited in Islam, and that there is someone who is talking about it, okay? Or the Quran is talking about it. I didn't know that. I knew that later when I learned the word fag in Arabic. Okay?
When did you learn that?
About age of 12.
So from 7 to 12, what were you experiencing there?
Childhood, okay, with periods where the sexual thoughts come and go.
So did you you knew you were a boy and you played with boys, and it was pretty much you felt to yourself normal, except for these things kept popping up.
Exactly. And I was kind of like the girly boy of the family, you know, like dancing whenever we have some party or whatever. Sometimes I used to try feminine, you know, stuff for myself. It's kind of funny, but of course my family was like, okay, is this funny? But don't do it again, you know. Like, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when they said don't do that again, did you feel like it was just because, well, it just wasn't that entertaining, or there's something about that socially that they didn't like?
It's just social norms, you know. Just social norms. Like I even never cared. I remember I did that many times. Because I was, because yeah, the problem here started at the age of 6. Okay, and that was a problem, and it was something that my family even didn't were not able to help me with. And at the same time, my personality was very different from now. I was very shy, you know, and if I have a problem like this, I will never talk about it. So I can't, you know, like I was in a very difficult situation, and I have been harassed many times later on. And sometimes I have been harassed in front of my father. Can you imagine? And I cried and I told my father, this guy, your friend, I don't want to see him again. I don't want to be in a place where he's, you know, sitting or, and my father told me later on that he had a fight with him at work.
So this incident that you're speaking of, how old were you and what was the harassment?
I can't remember how old, but I guess 9. Okay, so I was already homosexual. The harassment was that the guy grabbed my penis and played with it in front of my father.
Why on earth would he have done that?
My father told me that he even does that with all the kids, you know, and I told him, no, I don't accept that.
So it seems like that, is that kind of normal behavior in Egypt?
No, it is not normal, but they think that, or the guy thinks it is fun. You know what I mean?
Yes, I understand now.
And probably my father was trying to make it easy for me, you know, but he told me that, yeah, exactly, for sure. Like, so Cynthia is saying that he shouldn't be doing that to any of the kids.
Okay, so when was the first time that your family, that you believe your family understood that you were gay?
I was always suspicious. And even when I came out, I told them, oh, really? You didn't know? Yeah. And they were like, no, we really didn't know.
And how old were you when you came out to them?
That was 23, after a lot of stuff that happened, you know, from early childhood to graduating.
Wow. So your family, and you believe them, they said they really didn't know.
They really didn't know. They said that to me.
That's very interesting. And you're talking about, you have one brother? What, how many siblings?
One brother, one sister.
One brother, one sister, older, younger?
One older, one younger.
And they as well had said they had no clue.
Yes. Yeah.
As you look back, and you said that you thought that they suspected, other than the dancing, Is there anything else that you think would have clued them in?
I don't think so, but it is the feeling of anxiety, because when you are young, you know, and when someone tells you that there is some religion that's called Islam and there's Quran and these are called homosexuals and these are bad and God hates them, you know, and at the same time you already feel something wrong about it, and you already know that you have been abused, or you know what I mean? So it was very confusing to me. However, I only accepted it. By the way, I have been harassed in school as well by mates. But there was some guy who was harassing me, but I was attracted to him. So I was really in confusion. Like, no, I shouldn't do that, but I want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How old were you, and what was the harassment?
14. The harassment, like every kind of harassment at school, touching, touching my ass, and flirting, even during the class, wise teacher, you know, well, it's crazy.
Okay, so was this person who was doing the touching and harassing homosexual, not homosexual?
I don't know, like I don't know what to call him. You know what I mean? Like as far as I know, like from my information, is that these are called facts and they are bad, you know? But whether I am a fag or not, this is a confusion.
Yeah, that'd be so. Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting. Please tell me more about that.
No problem. So later on, when I started to search the internet, you know, actually it was a very big coincidence. So while I was Googling something, I was like 12 years old or something like that. I was Googling something and then I found a forum, okay, or actually a blog. It was called the Gay Man blog in Arabic, but it was using a very new term that I have never heard of, which is homosexual in Arabic. But I felt that this is related, or this is interesting to me, or something that triggers something inside of me. So I started to search for that, and I ended up at a porn website, okay? And I have seen what I have seen. And that really like was like it changed me completely. I was like, there are other people that do this and think about this, you know. So over time, I started to accept the fact that, okay, I might be a fag, but it is prohibited by religion, so I should repent. You know what I mean?
Okay, great point, but I'm sorry, I want to go back to up to that point. Had you run into any other experiences, people who you kind of thought, okay, here's somebody that is experiencing the same thing, but like me, they can't say anything?
So up till this point, I never thought that there is anyone else who is going through what I am going through.
Okay, very good. Go ahead, sorry.
I really felt like I was alone, all alone, you know, with nasty thoughts, person that you should regret. But however, the internet and the amazing Wikipedia helped me a lot, gather information, understand that I'm not alone. And then I started to use Yahoo Messenger. And this shows you that I was kind of curious, a boy during that time, because I used computers a lot, like I was a computer guy in the neighborhood. So I was kind of curious. And at the same time, I would say brave, to be honest, because I did something that I believe it needed courage, which actually to meet adults while I was 15 or something like that.
You're saying you were looking to meet up with others, other homosexuals at the age of 15 in a country where it's illegal.
Exactly.
Okay.
I wouldn't call them homosexual, even they didn't identify themselves as homosexual. Many of them were straight. Some were kind of like, I know that I'm bisexual and I identify myself as bisexual, and others I'm pretty sure that they were pedophiles, But anyways, my first incident was through Yahoo Messenger. Back in the day, we used to have chat rooms in Yahoo Messengers where you can go and meet people, blah, blah, blah. So I said that I am a young boy with a big deck. And I said that because I don't know what I'm expecting. I don't know what they are looking for even. And I'm available, for.
So you found a chat room where people were talking about, men were talking about meeting and about sex, and it was interesting to you, and you were hoping to meet somebody from this group in person.
Yes, I was I wanted to see what will happen.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I knew, I met online on Yahoo. I met one person, and he told me that he doesn't. So they're saying that this should be called ejaculation from Egypt and journey to Gaytopia. The coming part is interesting. So I know that childhood sounds very gloomy, it was kind of difficult, but at least it helped me, know my interests, helped me achieve academic excellence, avoid bad people, etc. But anyways, I met a guy online and he told me that he doesn't have a place. Okay, but however, he knows a friend who has an apartment and who is willing to host us. So I told him this is my first time and I'm like, I of course I feel very uncomfortable if your friend is gonna be there. He told me that and no, he will not be there. He will just open the door for us and leave us alone.
Did you believe him?
Yeah, I was a young boy, like I was very young. I don't know. So
did you have any worry that police were watching this chat group and might be waiting to do a bust or anything?
Oh my goodness, I was worried as hell. I was very worried, and I was much worried about my family if they discover that. What if they see me in the street, like by coincidence, for example, or someone who knows me and sees me with these people? It was very, but I don't know how I did that. I was like, I have to do it, I was like, I have to do it.
Yeah, I understand at that age. And so had you heard what the penalties might be if you were caught? Penalty with your family, penalty with the police or the army?
Well, like I know in a religious, it's a religious penalty of Sodom and Gomorrah. However, that I know that you know from the Bible and from the Quran, but other than that, like I never knew what my family will do. But my expectation was that my father would kick me out of house. You know, that was my expectation. And at the same time, if the police knows my expectation, I never knew what the legal penalty is. I was not that young boy who is interested in law.
Okay, so you weren't that worried about a legal penalty. It was more like social and familial.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I went. I took like a taxi from the library to the train station, and I met the guy in front of the station. Okay, and we
how
walked.
old was that guy?
I think he was at my age right now, like in 20s.
So he was quite a bit older than you at the time you were 15.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I was attracted to older people. I'm not gonna go have sex with, you know, this Asian. Oh,
you didn't feel a particular danger from an older person as opposed to somebody your own age.
I was worried to hell. Like I was really, really terrified. You know, I don't know like what to do. But when I met the guy, like it was clear to me that he's gonna take me to a place to have sex. At least that was my perception. And then we met the other guy, and the other guy was older. He was an adult. He was tall, not very tall, but moderate. You know, like he was moderate. He was kind of dark skinned. Okay, with a nice body, and he was like very masculine. At first, I felt very worried from him. And I walked with them and they took me to the apartment. And when we entered the apartment, they started touching me, you know, and they stripped me off of my clothes. But I was confused because that is the apartment owner shouldn't be there.
That's true. He had said he would not be there. And the older gentleman with the dark skin was the apartment owner.
Exactly. Exactly. However,
did you say anything to him?
Well, I couldn't say anything. I didn't even have an erection. I was worried, you know, but they did, and but my anus was very tight. Okay, so the first guy preferred not to do anal sex with me, but asked me to fuck him. Okay, but I was like, how? Why? I don't know. But the other guy, the dark-skinned guy, actually did anal sex with me, and it was so fucking painful. But I don't know. There was something that was like I like him. Like I like the kind of fear started to become like attraction, because he is my type, you know, at this age, and at the same time he had a very nice penis.
So how did you feel emotionally with these people?
Okay, so after we left the place, the first guy went somewhere, I can't remember. He said goodbye, And the dark-skinned guy helped me go somewhere where I can take, a taxi or a cab or a bus to go back home. And he told me that he really likes me, and he thinks that I am very polite, and that he wants to meet me again, but alone, without the other guy.
Did you feel like they were respectful when you were with them?
They were.
Oh.
At least the dark-skinned guy. He was respectful. It's just misunderstanding that anal sex with that penis might be dangerous for a small kid, for a young kid like me. However, he loved me, I know.
So you went on to have a relationship with the owner of the apartment, the older gentleman?
Yeah, I used to meet him from time to time.
Was it purely sexual, or did you have an emotional attachment?
Both of them.
Did you feel like the emotional attachment was returned?
Yeah, that was the guy was a good cuddler. It was like it was an eye-opening experience, in my opinion. Like, this is my first time to know this and to deal with that. And he respected me. Like, we chatted a lot, Like, yeah, we meet for sex. That's true. But we chatted, we knew each other. We enjoyed our time together. But at the same time, I always felt ashamed about it. So I always tried to avoid, making this relationship continue. And he was pissed off by this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so shocked by what you just said. So you would have liked a real relationship, but you were afraid to be close because of the danger of it.
Exactly, like, because of the danger from family, this one part, and of course because of religion.
Was your family, you said your family is not conservative, so did you study the Quran with your family, or how did you learn religion?
That's really the problem in Egypt. Okay, that's really the problem in Egypt. Don't leave your son or your kid with someone else, because they are gonna feed them with shit. Okay, and that's what happened to me. So sometimes, for example, they do activities, in just like we do activities in churches, they do activities in mosques. Okay, so if you leave your kids there, they are gonna teach him all shit. I'm telling you. So I was brainwashed, by the mosque, by the school, by the Quran itself, and by my feelings, regarding all of that.
So when and where did you first learn religion, the Muslim religion?
So at school in Egypt, they teach you some verses, some very simple verses in Quran in Arabic lessons, because they use it in order to teach Arabic. But outside of that, I thought that I should pray, right? So I should be praying. So from time to time, I was praying, and I was, yeah, and you know what, JK? No, Muslims and Christians, both of them have to study these verses and have to memorize them. Which is stupid, very stupid. But there was another class was called religion, and this one was splitted. There was Islamic religion for Muslims and was Coptic Christian religion for Copts. But for the Catholics, I really don't know. I know that there are Catholic schools, but there are Franciscan schools, but I don't know whether they force them into the Coptic shit or not.
So you say you should not leave your children in mosques. Were you left in a mosque and received that, like you say, I mean, we experienced here in the United States too, brainwashing our children. Was it in a mosque?
Well, so for example, I remember I attended a lesson for memorizing the last part of Quran. Okay, so many children do that because the last part is very simple. It's not understandable. Okay, like I knew that I never understood it, but it was just something like my family were like, okay, why don't you go? Like my neighbor is sending her kids, so you can go and try. And I went for a while, but then I got bored. You know, after I memorized the whole thing, I got bored and I told my family, this shit. And the sheikh like punishes us by twisting our fingers, which is very terrible. And I didn't like him. He was a very stupid guy. So my family
punish. What did people do that he'd end up twisting their fingers as punishment?
So every day you have to rehearse. You have to rehearse all what he tried to memorize you since lesson 1. So for example, you have memorized 10 chapters, you have to rehearse all of them. And if you start, you know, like if he feels that you are not memorizing very well, you are not rehearsing very well, he starts twisting your finger.
Well, that ought to help. That'll help you remember. Gosh. All right. So can you give us another example of, or an example of the brainwashing that you experienced?
For example, of course, Friday prayers. My father attends Friday prayers all the time, and he used to have me go with him. My father never cared, like this is what I discovered when I became older. He never cared about what is being said, you know. But for me, of course, I cared. And it was like brainwashing, like America is the worst enemy of the world. The Jews are bad, and they fought with Prophet Muhammad, and blah blah blah, and all of the stories and traditions that was just stupid. But I wasn't during that time. I was brainwashed. Like I thought that I have to believe in this.
Yeah, or else what?
Or else I would go to hell.
Oh. Yeah, that's the main brainwasher for all of us, isn't it? You're going to go to hell.
Exactly. And they keep talking about weird stuff like, for example, God will burn your body, okay, so that you suffer. And then after you are fully burned, he's going to replace your skin and burn you again so that you suffer again. And some other thing, for example, women who do not wear hijab, it's just like you, Staci, what God is gonna do with you, he is gonna pull you from your hair. And just like when you go to the butcher, you know, it's a butcher's, and you know, can you see meat strips? So yeah, women will be hanged from their hair. Like that.
Is that actually from the Quran, or that's just what kind of religious leaders say?
This specific one is from the tradition.
Wow.
But the Quran has a lot of similar stuff, like it's fine. And the Quran invents like very, like, for example, it says, okay, these people will eat from the tree of the Zaqqum. What? And then the next verse. And do you know what Zaqqum is? Next verse. I bet you don't know what's a cook. Okay. First, it is a tree where we fuck these people. They eat like, you know, lava. Okay, and they keep eating it and they keep eating it, and they never feel satisfied. They never feel full. They are always hungry. You know, and the water is not water. It is actually a river of fire. You know.
Wow, to tell that to children, my goodness. And
Yeah.
in the chat here, Lois said Christianity at one time taught the same thing, that women who didn't cover their hair would be hung by it. Wow.
Yeah. There was a little girl in Egypt that used to dance while she is hanging. She was very talented, to be honest. But whenever I remember this, I remember her for some reason. I don't know.
Wow, I'm so sorry that we have to end the conversation. That's absolutely fascinating. I know we have a lot more ground to cover, but we'd like to open the floor up to questions. So is there anybody in our audience here who has a question that they would like to ask Ramses about growing up or any other things that we've been discussing here? You can raise your hand. Oh, Cynthia, go ahead.
Well, first, kudos for coming out, because I understand Islam is very anti-homosexual. There was a young man who was just beheaded not too long ago because the hospital outed him. I don't know if you're aware of that, but kudos to you. My question is how long after you came out officially at 23 was it before you finally realized that staying there was not an option and you went to Canada, or did that play into your thinking into going to Canada at all?
I never thought about immigrating except at university. At university, I started to be atheist. I started to accept myself. And I started to realize that homosexuality is normal. And over time, of course, I felt threatened. So I wanted to escape by any means. But the problem here is that you cannot travel outside of Egypt before you finish your military service. Okay.
So is it like Israel? Israel has kind of mandatory military service and
exactly conscription.
2 years?
Well, in Egypt, it can go if you are an excellent person, okay, and if you are having a good job, like an engineer, for example. And,
with the army?
No, if you are already graduating from engineering, okay, and if you are, like I was top graduate, I was valedictorian, and I was doing research, like I was doing my master's, I was gonna be a teaching assistant, and my whole life was focused in academia. So the army was like, of course, this is a fruit. This is something that we want. We'll give you 3 years.
So because you were an excellent person and had skills, you had to do more military service.
Exactly. You had to be their slave for 3 years. Forget about academia, forget about research, and go live in the desert with men. And of course, I knew what will happen. Like I knew that they will know that I'm homosexual from day one. Like what because I like, as I like, the older I become, the more feminine I become. I don't know why, but it happens that people start to recognize my sexuality. And what I noticed is that outside of Alexandria, people are really like less educated, much less educated. And I noticed that they are kind of sensitive, much more sensitive to this homosexuality stuff. So when I went to Cairo in order to do my medical tests and all these stuff that the military required, people spotted my sexuality very quickly. Like just by speaking, just by speaking, my colleagues were like, why are you speaking that way? Are you a man or are you another thing? And this kind of, yeah.
So Cesare has his hand up. Go ahead.
What does Islam say about eating mango? I'm guessing it's against eating man come, so mango, is that like the opposite?
Well, this really needs a scholar to answer. I'm gonna ask the Sheikh of Azhar. I'm pretty sure that he will not understand the bad joke because he is so illiterate that he doesn't know English. He only knows Arabic and he only reads Quran and Islamic stuff. But I hope he answers your questions. Are you interested in mango?
I love mango.
But not mango?
No, not mango.
That's your problem, guys. Like, you never try, like you judge something before you try it.
All right. Well, we don't have any more hands up right at the moment. Is there anything that anything else that you'd like us to know about what you endured as a child in a third world country?
Okay, so there were a lot of bad stuff, of course. I think religion is the main problem, but education was very nice. Even if people say it was bad, no, I was educated very well. At school, I studied a lot of stuff, like they teach you a lot of history, a lot of languages, and mathematics. And when they knew that I am interested in mathematics, they used to take me to algorithm competitions. And I learned, how to do algorithm analysis and this stuff while I was at school. And then I met the Minister of Education. I met him 2 times. And I got medals and all this kind of stuff. And Bibliotheca Alexandrina as well. The library used to engage me in trainings and in competitions. And they wrote about me in the journal that I was representing the Library of Alexandria. But at the same time, you have to deal with all these uneducated and illiterate people around you. Yeah, we have to hand up.
Daniel has his hand up. Go ahead.
Hey, Ramses. Thanks for all the great information. And I had myself kind of an interesting non-traditional sexualization in my childhood based on a gay older brother. But I never considered myself gay. I think I was just thought this was interesting. I was trying to please older brother, and eventually it came to an end. I don't know if it was traumatic for me. Some people say, oh well, that's a power imbalance. Yeah, there's obviously some trauma, but my question is kind of based on, guys will get together sometimes and joke and say, I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body, because lesbians love women. I love women. So I must be an inner lesbian, but I'm just so, does that mean if I wanted to, have more sex with lesbians that I should get a sex change? So other lesbian women would want me. I mean, isn't, and there's the same thing, you said you came out as gay, so you want to have sex with men, which is typically something women do. So is there a gender dysphoria kind of component to, a gay person having a sex gender reassignment? Can you speak to that?
Sure, Daniel. So most women, like statistically speaking, according to Kinsey and according to a lot of recent research, most women are bisexual. Okay, so you can imagine the spectrum is, okay, this is the spectrum of attracting to men. So you can be anywhere between 0% and 100%. And this is the spectrum of being attracted to women. It can be from anywhere between 0% to 100%. Trannies 0% to, and so on. So it's like, you know, you have different meal options when you go to the restaurant, and you know which one you prefer. And sometimes you want to change. And
are you saying you're bisexual or
for me, I actually no. I am 100% gay. I was never attracted to women. And to me, like when I was introduced to heterosexual norms, like when my brother started to explain that a man and a woman, when they get married, they sleep together on bed, and they put this in this, I was terrified. I was like, no, like this is not normal, you know. And yeah, seriously, it was really very foreign to me, and I was afraid. Like my brother told me that he has seen some movie, you know, where the woman was naked, and he has seen. We were young, you know, very young boys just talking, and he has seen her breasts. Okay, she was naked, so he has seen her breasts, and they were nice. But my brain was in a very different area. So I told him, so what about the guy? Was he naked? Seriously, I still remember this. He told me, what the fuck? Like, what can I do with that? And it's just a penis, and it's like a monkey, you know. But the woman was nice. I couldn't comment on this. Like I started to realize, you know, that there is some misconceptions that I have.
So I'd love just to clarify, you identify as a woman, and you also identify as gay. So that makes you a lesbian.
No. So one moment. You can identify yourself by any identification you like. You can say I'm gay, but I'm attracted to women or attracted to men. It doesn't matter. No, I know some people who say that they are straight, okay, and they have sex with boys, and they have sex with me. Like, what the fuck, right? But it's just a matter of identity. So in the LGBT community, we accept whatever way you want to identify yourself with. I like to identify yourself as a homosexual from a sexual perspective, and as a transgender from a gender perspective.
So have you altered your genitalia to match the female gender at this point?
Until now, no, but I am taking hormones. I've been taking them for a long time.
Okay. Well, thanks for helping me understand. It shows our society is making progress to be more tolerant and interesting. So thanks again.
Thank you, Daniel.
I apologize. I'm going to jump in for a second before Sazadi because it's following on this conversation. Ramses, do you feel like a woman trapped in a man's body?
Okay, so I know that people perceive that I identify as a woman. However, I never said that I am a woman. Okay, when people ask me about my gender, so when I was in the refugee court and they asked me about my gender, I wrote that I am a boy who looks like girls who look like boys. I got it from a movie about swinging in London, Pink Floyd and this kind of stuff. And I wrote it that way. And the report in the end, the decision, okay, of the court, and the judge who were writing like 10-page argument of why I should be protected. She mentioned at the very beginning that I identify myself as a boy who looks like girls who look like boys.
We'll have to cover that another time. Wow. Okay, Sazadi, go ahead.
Okay, I had two questions. One, kind of, were you breastfed, and did you like it, or do you remember it? I'm just wondering if you have an aversion to women, if like how you were nursed, let's put it that way. and if you have any kind of recollection to that. The other thing, it's really unrelated to your struggles, but you were talking about education in Egypt. And do you find that the education system in Egypt has been created to churn out a nation of workers, not thinkers, and that it was influenced by the Carnegie Foundation to do so?
That's interesting. So for the first question, all my family have very nice boobs, but I will never attracted to that. Actually, I put on my mother's bra several times on me. Okay, but my mother was like, she hated it, not because I should be a boy, but she hated it because it was her bra. Like, don't take my clothes from my closet, okay? And yeah, my mother, the problem is my mother is a very great woman, and she did all the three operations, all the birth operations, where I don't know what you call it here, Caesarean or Caesarean? Caesarean. So it was very difficult for her, and breastfeeding was not normal. Like, we used to reject. This is what she tells me. We used to reject breastfeeding. So she simply used natural milk, and it went okay. Like, it was fine. But I never remember anything before age of 2. I remember age of 3, but I don't remember anything before that.
So then the other question was about the educational system. Do you believe that that is to turn out workers and influenced by the Carnegies?
The education system was established by philosophers and by thinkers, and there was a great fight for this. So Taha Hassin, okay, he was the father, like we call him the father of Arabic literature, and he has gone through a lot of fights in order to make education free for all people. It was only for rich people and the king, and his family and this kind of stuff. There were, however, there were French schools all over Egypt, for the public. But the education system itself was under the control of the kingdom. So Taha Hussein tried to make it like more socialist. And he managed to make it free of charge for all grades and for all universities. Like, whatever you do, whatever program you do, I did engineering, for example, only for $5 a year. And the education system developed over time. And Taha Hussein and his team were actually a group of thinkers, and they were accused by the Muslims that they are atheist. As you can see, there is polarity in Egypt. Okay, there is polarity. There is a group that is trying to fix things. These are the educated. And there is another group that is very conservative, and they are bringing us backwards.
Thank you very much for that. We are out of time. That was fascinating. I have so many more questions. I can't wait to hear more of the story. There's so much that we haven't heard yet. All right.
Actually, yeah. So I would like to say that talking about university and the persecutions that I had there, and my story with military is very interesting, but I will keep it for the next time. And by the way, I contacted the Canadian embassy during that time. I contacted French embassy. I contacted Finland, Norway, Sweden. I went there by myself to the embassy and to the consulate. But I will talk about that next time.
Wow. Okay. Wonderful. And we're going to have to wait 2 weeks for that. We'll meet you guys again in 2 weeks. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Please come back in 2 weeks to discover another part of the journey from persecution to freedom.
Thanks.